what's up? Welcome back to the garage today. Today we are going to just show you how to do a quick valve adjustment on a Moto Guzzi V7. This one's a V7 3 Special. This will apply to all the V7s. However, the valve clearances may be a little different. If you're having trouble, you can always look under the seat, and Moto Guzzi was nice enough to put the valve clearances right here. So for this one, we're looking at 0.15 for the intake, 0.20 for the exhaust. So if you're having trouble, just look under your seat. So this one we're going to do, it's pretty quick, so it shouldn't take too long. It's probably one of the nicest bikes to do valve adjustments on of all the motorcycles we work on, even easier than dirt bikes. So everything's going to be right under this cover. So we're going to pull off the spark plug wire holder. This is going to be a 3mm. So you have 4 screws here. And that cover will just pop right off. And we're going to pull the spark plug wire out. And we're going to just move it to the side. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to pull the spark plug out. This is going to be a 5/8 socket, spark plug socket. So we've got that out. And the next thing we're going to do is pull off the valve cover. Three screws for this. 5mm. Take that, put that to the side. I'm also just going to wipe off the gasket surface here. If you have a little bit of sealant on there, you could just scrape it off. These are the Tusk scrapers. They make it pretty easy to scrape it. I already actually kind of scraped this one earlier, so there's not very much on there. But just make sure you have a clean gasket surface for when you're putting the bike back together. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to find top dead center. Easiest way to do this is to use a lift, which we'll put the link for below. So you could use the red lift, and we're going to get the back tire off. We're going to put it all the way up into 5th gear, so the highest gear we could get it in. And once you're up there, what we're going to do is get I like to use a zip tie. You can use whatever you want, but I like to use a zip tie because it's not going to damage the piston or the wall. And you're just going to put that in there. And what we're going to do, right now we are not at top dead center. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to just rock the back wheel. You can see the zip tie moving up and down. So I'm just rocking on the rear wheel just like this to progress the engine forward. So we're going to put our zip tie back in there, and we're going to wait for our intake valve to go down and come back up. And I think we actually just hit it. So what you do is check for play on the intake and check for play on the exhaust. And then you're also going to make sure your piston's at the top. So if you can see, if you watch it, it's coming up. And then right before it starts to go back down is where top dead center is. So it's going to be right there. So again, make sure you got some play there and you got play there. So now that we have that, what we're going to do is we're going to check them to see if they need adjusting. In this case, we're looking for 0.15 on the intake. So we'll go through our feeler gauges. Hard to see, but this is 0.15. And we're going to just slide it in right here. It fits really easily, so we're going to move up to the larger size to a 0.20. That fits really easily. So we know that's going to be out of adjustment. So the best way to do this is you're going to take your 11mm open end. You're going to break the nut free. And what I like to do, which is kind of a shortcut for a guessing game, is we're going to get our 0.15 out, And we're just going to stick that in between the valve and the rocker here. And then we're just going to start tightening this up. So right now I'm feeling, right there it's stuck. I'm going to back it off just a little till I get a light drag in there. So once I get that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it in there. I'm going to tighten the nut by hand. And then we're going to go ahead and use our open end wrench and snug it. Now, if you notice, this actually turned and now we're stuck here. So what you need to do is sometimes you'll have to make sure that this stays still when you're tightening it down. So I'm going to get it to right here. Tighten it down, and we have a light drag. And now we're going to move over to the exhaust. Let's pause it for a second. All right, so now we're going to do the exhaust really quick. We're still at top dead center. We got some play here. We're going to just check the clearance here at 0.20. Fits in there actually pretty good. Let's jump up to 2.5 here, 2.3. And 2.3 doesn't fit. So this exhaust actually does not need to be adjusted. But if you were going to adjust it, you're going to do the same method that you did for the intake. You're going to loosen this, put your 0.20 in here. This one doesn't need to be adjusted, so we're not going to adjust it. So super easy. That's how you actually do the whole valve adjustment. You're going to repeat this same process on the other side of the bike, and that's really it. Now, the only other thing that you need to do is you're going to make sure that your gasket surfaces are cleaned up really nice. Try to clean off the rubber gasket here. And then what I like to use is just a little bit of the liquid gasket from 3Bond, the 1184. This stuff is what I use on most bikes. It works really good and it's permeable to gas and oil. And then just put a thin layer on there. Try not to get it on the head like I did. And then just put a really thin layer on there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Put a nice thin layer on there. And then I'll come back in a minute and show you guys how to put it back on. All right, so we got a thin layer of sealant on here. So now what we're going to do, all you got to do is just set it back on there. Shouldn't be too hard. So we'll just set it back in there. Make sure our holes are lined up. Grab our 3 bolts. We're going to start these by hand. We're going to use the impact, the DeWalt impact, to tighten them in, and then we'll go ahead and tighten them up by hand. So these are all started by hand so we don't strip anything. So now that we've got that, we're just going to take our ratchet here and tighten these down. So now that those are snugged up, we are going to put our spark plug in here. If there's a little slot back here for the cable, it's kind of hard to see, but we're going to just kind of maneuver our cable in here. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky on these bikes to get it into the slot. There we go. And we're going to take the slack out here and put connect our spark plug boot back up. Oh, before we do that, sorry. Start that over. That was stupid. So now that we got our spark plug wire tucked into the little channel they put on the cover, we're going to throw our spark plug back in. We're going to set it in there, use our 5/8 socket here, and spin it in till it stops. Snug it up. Then we're going to run our boot back in here like that. Make sure you hear it click on there. It's an audible click. So our wire's tucked in, boot's on, and then we're going to take our cable cover here. All right, so we're getting these last couple bolts in here, starting them up by hand. And then we're going to take our DeWalt and we're going to snug everything down. And we're going to use just a ratchet just so that we don't strip them, and just make sure that they're snug down. And that's it. So super easy to do a valve adjustment and inspection on these Moto Guzzis. Way easier than any other street bike. Everything's easy to access. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to put it back into neutral. So just rock it back and forth, get it back to neutral, and we're ready to take it off the lift. And we already did the other side. So thanks again for watching the video. We'll see you guys on the next one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. And if you're looking for any of these parts or tools that we use in the videos, check the link below. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks.